How's it going? This is going to be game one between WKDMT and the Eternal Knights. WKDMT already 2-0 and Eternal Knights 0-2, so two completely different stories for these teams right now. WKDMT pretty confident with their contention in the block right now, and their standings going to be going into the next few games. Hopefully going to get a couple more wins and secure a spot in the tournament. Eternal Knights going to try and find their way back into it. If they can find a win in this set here, it's going to put them tied for first place in the block, with WKDMT being their primary rivals if that does occur. However, hoping to see just a good battle and a good fight overall from both teams. Scotty and Rama both going to be banned out here. Not very unusual to see a Hunter banned out, but usually it's going to be a Karner that's going to be banned out. However, I think doing good research on both teams, banning out Hunters, going to keep Trent Dogs away from all of his characters. However, going to ban out 3 Hunters and leave open a Kernanus. However, you're also going to leave open a Bologna, and that's definitely going to be going the way of I believe the truth. I believe it's going to be on the way of the truth over into the solo lane. Ganesha immediately going to be locked in on the side of Eternal Knights, valuing that pick. We don't know a whole lot about how Ganesha fares in high-level competitive play, but I think people are catching on to Ganesha's ability to disrupt a team fight and disrupt any kind of any abilities that the enemy team is going to be using. And that Bologna, if she's standing still, obviously without being able to use her ability, she doesn't hit that hard, and you can silence her out of her clear as well. You can see some pretty good team fight potential. However, Sasano going to be locked in on the side of WKDMT, as well as Kernanus. That's something I did expect to see. I thought maybe it was going to come out first pick, but opting for that Bologna, and a mistake I believe was made on the side of Eternal Knights, not going to take away that Kernanus from Trent Dogs over in the dual lane. Raven, however, going to be picked up. Similar story to the last game where Raven is going to be picked up. Instead, he's going to be comboed with the Owelix. The Owelix is going to have some good combinations, I think, with characters. However, instead of opting for a top-tier god in Ravana, they go ahead and lock in a Xbalanque. Unfortunate that I think that's an unfortunate call on their end. If they ban out that Raven, they're going to be kicking themselves for not picking the Xbalanque later in the draft. If that's the kind of draft that they're going to be going for, you don't really prioritize a Xbalanque. And throughout this entire league, I think Xbalanque has gotten looked at way too much. And the only game that he has won, I believe, was a game where there was a DC, or a game where the skill cap was blatantly different between the two teams. A band of Kumbhakarna is going to come out from Eternal Knights, not worrying about any other, not worrying about the mid lane. I think a South would have been a good ban, or even up a side in here, but worrying about the support role, getting Kumbhakarna out of the hands of WHK Destruction. I think or WKH Destruction. I think Destruction has a very good Fafnir, and that would be the ban I'd like to see out of Eternal Knights right now. His Fafnir has been very well in tune, and I also think that his Sylvanas is also something you have to worry about here, but instead opting for the Kumbhakarna ban. Kumbhakarna does bring a lot of crowd control into the game, but we haven't seen it be used to very great effect by any teams thus far. Other supports outshine him in every way. Poseidon going to be the ban on the side of WKDMT. I don't think they really care to have that in their arsenal. They already have 3 super potent picks between Bologna, Susanoo, and Kernanus. You can have the luxury of picking a lower tier mid laner or a mid tier mid laner in order to ensure that the enemy team doesn't get a top tier one. Yeah, that's echo I don't want to have right now. I just want to do this so I have the chat. So the ban is actually going to also be Chunga. That's a much better ban that I'd like to see. Chunga did a very good job in these last couple of games that we did watch of outputting pretty good damage and having good sustain with big ultimates. Nuwa, however, going to be what they prioritize. Thoth was still on the table, and Thoth possibly going to go unpicked and unbanned here. Vulcan going to be Stormjack's god of choice in that mid lane up against the Nuwa. Hopefully we'll see how that fares out. And Fafnir, as I said, I think that's a god that Destruction's super comfortable on, and that's a good support to have on your team, a top tier support going into the hands of somebody who's good at him. Snake Eye is going to be the last pick here. Going to be a shock in that solo lane. An underwhelming draft, I think, by Eternal Knights. They have 2 pretty bright spots in Owelix and Ganesha, but I think a Xbalanque and Nuwa are both pretty lackluster picks in their respective roles. With Chalk, although he's been off and on in these last games, he's a pretty good all-around character. I just don't think he's going to have what it takes to take down a Bologna in that lane. Got to be super careful. we saw in these last couple of sets a Chalk and a Wheelix combo super well together, and a Wheelix was left unbanned both games, which allowed the team that won, which was I should remember these names, but Wheelix basically had the biggest effect on those last two games, rolling their team to victory both times. All right, and since it's going to be about 3 minutes until we get back, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream and then start it back up when the game stops, so you don't just have to hear me talk about random things that I know and random stuff. Even if I do have a pretty voice, I can only talk about so much before the game actually starts, and I have content to feed you with. I will be right back.